Hi, welcome to Discover Ergo. Today we're going to talk about sovereignty, why Ergo matters, decentralization, smart contracts, and economic sovereignty. Economic sovereignty in the sense of your ability to have freedom, how you act, also how you create value as well. In the UK itself, we are probably going to transition to a digital economy, which means that for businesses, it's going to simplify their process. When you have cash itself, it creates overhead, it creates expense, it creates risk. Now, the choice to go digital will mostly be downstream of the government itself. Some businesses might decide that they want to go digital sooner than that, but I think ultimately it will be downstream of a government that decides that this is where they ultimately want to go. When it comes to a government just making that type of decision, I think the two most attractive propositions are the fact that you can automate taxes and you can really enforce on a granular level economic incentives. If you don't want people to buy diesel cars, you can say, well, no more transactions for anyone who wants to buy a diesel car, and that's it. Now, the downside to this is essentially if you want to increase the taxes, you can do it very easily with a lot less friction, and not necessarily like fix the economy. Or you can, Or you can just make arbitrary rules, which might protect or like be good for like a small cohort of people who are existing in power right now at the expense of the population. So in another way of saying it, it might benefit, the people who get to control it, essentially. Now, the importance of the sovereignty itself is that it provides people a means, not just as individuals, but as a collective, on how we develop our economies and how we move forward as people. Now, sovereignty as an individual is important, but without sovereignty as a collective, you don't get a free market. You don't get a bottom-up approach. A top-down approach will basically be people telling you, how things should be done, how they should be planned. But for the 20th century, a lot of prosperous things have happened because they've been bottom-up and not always been top-down itself. So that's why sovereignty is important. So when it comes to Ergo, it should be a blockchain, a financial tool that basically helps with sovereignty itself. So smart contracts will be the future. On Cardano, on Solana, if you want to make a meme coin, you can make it like that. And that's because over time, these blockchains have got to a point where the tools are there and they can be deployed very quickly and efficiently. And when it comes to smart contracts, the same will apply as well. And the power of those smart contracts will be, if you're a user of a platform and you have a big following or a community, or you want to create some type of value, you don't have to be dependent on the platform itself figuring out the incentives. It can be the other way around. It can be a community that have accrued value from what they do and what people find valuable as well. Now, there's a lot to unpack in that itself, but it allows those types of opportunities in terms of like people coming together and like expressing their sovereignty that way. Also, if you just run a business, there's many areas which smart contracts can lead to efficiencies and reduce overhead as well, without having to rely on a centralized version of that itself, and it will give you control. Now, moving on to artificial intelligence. This is, in its recent incarnation, what's happened is, in the short term, a lot of big tech companies have raced towards it because they see it as the economic endgame, and they've poured a lot of time and money. And I think businesses in the short term will be incentivized to reduce costs because currently at the moment the economy is not very strong because of some economic policies, and there is an incentive for companies to adopt these tools. Even if it's at a degraded performance, just because if your competitors are doing it, you need to decrease costs and increase profits. Now, that's fine, but the thing is, I think what's going to be interesting for some people is that if certain industries change, like you make art in a video game studio, and then all of a sudden the studio can create multiple times more at a fraction of the cost. Well, I mean, there are many jobs which could be put at jeopardy, and the question is, what do people do? Like, is there a parallel economy they can be part of if they wanted to create things? Um, and the question is, yeah, there is. It's within crypto, and it's within some layer one blockchains, and I think one of them is Ergo itself, and it will provide those opportunities for people. But it won't be easy, and I think one of the things that people underestimate is that how hard it is. That it does take people to use initiative, and it does take them to have that awareness of what's going on, and yeah, just to put in that energy, the same energy they would if they were working for themselves, making a business, or like just at work itself. Now, finally, I just want to compare Argo to other blockchains because this is quite a key part of the sovereignty. Now, it uses proof of work. The reason why proof of work is so interesting is because you can just use off-the-shelf hardware and contribute to the security of the network and get paid out in rewards and use those rewards to interact with the blockchain or other ecosystems, because Ergo has Rosenbridge, you can connect to Cardano, you can connect to Bitcoin, and you'll soon be able to connect to Ethereum. Recently, there's been a push towards proof of stake networks because they're a lot more energy efficient, but at the same time, they don't offer you that ease of entry, where a lot of these other tokens, maybe you have to do KYC or you have to go to an exchange, and in order to do that, you have to have an identity. What if you're a person who doesn't have an identity? Or you're in a country where all you have is just maybe some hardware and some energy. Well, if that's the case, you can be part of the Ergo network. And if you can quickly compare it to Bitcoin itself, Bitcoin is quite intensive in terms of its energy and its hardware, so that is not as viable as it used to be. But Ergo is one of those few layer one blockchains that uses proof of work in actually a way that's forward looking. It actually has smart contracts, and it's not just a coin that can just be mined and there's nothing else to do. A final thing I'm going to say in terms of sovereignty as well is governance. The thing about governance is it future proofs you. If a blockchain doesn't have governance or has very little, then the question is, how is it going to make the right choices in the future and be relevant? That's the key question, because essentially you're going to have to rely on a very few set of people who are going to always make the right decisions, or you're going to hope that there's nothing to be done, there's no upgrades needed, and you'll basically be perfect forever. Okay, and both have their challenges. Now, with blockchains which do have governance, such as Cardano, and Cardano has quite a robust one, it can be quite convoluted. So the problem you can also find is you have a community which are very vocal. They might argue, and how they have to navigate this will be very interesting to see. I think they'll get there, but I think it's not going to be a straight road, and I can't hand wave governance away. I think it's difficult for every blockchain. And I just want to make a quick mention to Tezos, which were one of the original pioneers of governance when it came to blockchain. And I think it really has been underestimated how important it's going to be. So yeah, that's just something that's to be said about Tezos itself very briefly. But going back to Argo itself, the way it deals with governance is that 90% of the miners have to agree on a protocol upgrade, and then that's it, you move forward. Now, that's a very elegant solution, and that hopefully should keep it relevant as well. So when it comes to sovereignty, it's about being able to be included in a system, how you can express yourself in that system, how you can generate value for yourself and others, and also what is the future viability of that platform itself. And those are some key reasons why Ergo has to be considered as a tool, and that's there for everyone, no matter what ecosystem you're from, or etc. It's there as a tool for people to participate in terms of sovereignty. So I hope this was insightful for people. If there's anything you're interested in, please leave a message below in things you want to discuss, and you can tell me what you thought of this video or other content you'd like to see going forward in the future. Thank you very much for listening, and yeah, that's it.